Hello and welcome to Focus, a Bailiwick Express podcast. I'm Webb. Are rental costs for retail too expensive? It's a question I found myself asking following the closure of Jojo Mam and Baby and the post that then adorned social media. I found myself thinking, woof, £50,000 a year. That's a lot of money just for the space to set up your stall. So I decided to have a little adventure. I packed up my mic and my camera and set off into the heart of St. Peterport, stopping by shops just to find out what those working in retail think of that cost. My first stop was to one of the newer additions to Guernsey's retail realm, Bailiwick Botanicals. The first shop opened up in April 2021, and since then they've gone on to expand to a second location on the bridge and will soon be moving to their new home at Weybridge House. They've had their fair share of problems though.
We've had floods, we've had asbestos removed, we have water damage. So the cost just of having the space is immense. But then on top of that, the buildings are so old that they need so much work and so much love that it ends up being much more than the projected cost.
That's Erin Franklin, the retail manager for Bailiwick Botanicals across Guernsey and Jersey. She says rent and the age of the buildings on offer can take up a major share of the company's outgoings.
We're kind of in a position where we just have to kind of take what's available. Guernsey's an old island. These buildings are old. I don't think anyone wants to come through and knock everything down and start over, but there needs to be some accountability because now things are turning to be unsafe for people.
That reality of operating out of a building with so many issues for the rates that retail spaces are leased out of is shocking, and the weight of those potential problems isn't lost.
Especially, again, when you're prone to flooding and you have thousands of pounds worth of inventory, that's our whole livelihood. If something happens to that, that's us done. It's definitely a struggle. But again, we try to just make the best of it and focus on the positives.
Now, I love to break things down and make it easier to understand. I also love not getting people in trouble for open and honest discussions, and I also love cake. So I found a way to ask those working in industry how much they spend on rent without getting in trouble with their landlords. But in terms of figures, when it comes to the cost of rental, how much of a cake would it take up? Would it take up the majority? Say it was a birthday cake, how much would it?
If it was a birthday cake, it would definitely be the majority. I would say over 50%.
Over 50%?
Slightly over 50%, yeah.
Now, that is a huge slice to be giving away for a property that puts stock at risk. But it's only one stop. Next up, we're heading to the opposite side of town. The Pollard is an older part. It's also significantly cheaper. Seahorse sits quite happily on the edge of the Pollard. The small boutique clothes shop has been around for some years, often drawing in locals searching for a special something for a loved one or tourists who strolled that way on the St. Peterport seafront. Theo Hamilton is the managing director of Seahorse Clothing and Accessories. Despite a huge smile on his face, the reality of running retail is something he takes very seriously.
I wouldn't say it's the easiest thing in the world. So if you're looking to get yourself into the trades, I would probably sit you down and have a little chat with you. But all in all, it's pretty good. We've got a very good local, sort of big local clientele, the cruise ships that come in every summer. Not so much this year, but I would say all in all, it takes you a while to get going on your feet. Once you do set something up, it does take you a couple of years to get established, that sort of thing. But once you got the sort of ball rolling, it's great fun, and you get to meet loads of people, which I think is really, really good. So all in all, for us, it's been really good. But I would say if you're getting yourself into it, it does take a couple of years. So just be patient and you sort of give it time to sort of thrive. We're very lucky where we are here in the Pollard. We've never had a problem with a flood. I think our location does help a lot with that. But I think, in terms of the property, it's maintained really, really well. The only thing we suffer with around here is, when there's like high gusts of wind or storms, we get hit quite a lot on this side of town. So the awnings outside do take a bit of a battering. Just thinking back to the last one in November, the big one, we had the awnings come down, which was a bit of a nuisance for us. So we had to take those down for a few weeks. But all in all, yeah, can't complain really.
Despite being located in the cheaper part of town, away from the high street and commercial arcade, a significant slice of his birthday cake is still given away each quarter in rent. Say the cost of running your business was a birthday cake. How much are you giving away of your birthday cake when it comes to just the cost of rent?
Cost of rent, I would probably say, when you look at how much you invest in your stock, how much you pay your staff, that sort of thing, I'd say probably rent is about, I'd say a third of that.
A third of that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really, you obviously pay per quarter. I'm not sure what other businesses have to do, but that's what we have to do. But it depends what time of the year. When we have a good time of year, when the quarterly rent comes up, it's not a problem. But other times of the year, it can be a bit of a, oh god, right. Yeah. But all in all, yeah, I'd say it's probably about a third of that cake.
So no matter where you set out your stall, a significant portion of cash immediately goes to those holding the deed. But in a world where in-person outlets are fighting against online mega corporations, is that something that businesses can survive?
I think the main concern that, obviously retailers in Guernsey have, and shop owners for me, is, when, obviously online shopping is growing very, very big, and and the cost of rents for local businesses, and especially in town, is becoming higher every year. I think what it is for us, for me, the rent we have here, is absolutely fine. But the only thing that concerns me is that, if more people decide to leave the island, go shopping or shop online, those rents will become, bigger than what they seem to be for local businesses, which will then impact the town. Shops will close, unfortunately, and the town will become less and less. So I think in the long term, depending on what happens, I think the rents at the minute look pretty good. But as the years go by, the more we see town become, sort of depleted with people, and if they decide to, shop online, say, and not support local, we'll probably see those rents go up, and they actually will seem a bit bigger and a bit more sort of daunting. In St. Peterborough, you pay for what your location is, and I think that's always been the case. It's nice to see, streets like Mill Street now becoming a little bit more thriving. There's some really nice shops and things going on up there now. But where we are in the Pollet here, I think for what we pay is very reasonable. So no complaints with that. We just hope that the locals can get behind us and make those rents seem a bit smaller every year.
It's not just those renting their commercial spaces that are feeling the pinch either. Even those who own their spaces are finding it more and more difficult to balance the books.
Well, the costs keep spiralling up, be it the rates, the insurance, electric, water, it all seems to keep going up and up.
That's Paul Dodd, who owns Soundtrack in Church Square. A little bit of a local institution, the tech shop has been there for years, a permanent fixture sat within walking distance of parking and the bus terminus. But they too are feeling the pressure of increasing costs.
When they keep stopping locals being able to park and stuff like that, it does have an impact on a lot of businesses. There's things that do need to be addressed, really, to try and keep town vibrant. There's so many problems sometimes getting into town with all the roadworks and closing parking. It does put people off. It doesn't make it easy to get in. It's quite important. People want to be able to get in nice and quickly, get to do whatever they want, and if they can't, they don't come in.
Mr. Dodd was referencing the changes made to Albert Pier, where several spaces were removed to make space for the offboarding of cruise ship passengers, something Soundtrack's owner classes as a big mistake.
There's less parking now than there was last year, and it used to work a lot better when they had the tourists dropped off on North Beach, but because they didn't affect any of the local parking, so you had all the locals plus you had all the tourists, and that worked a lot better. But we've tried telling them this, and they don't listen at all. They sort of don't even really come around and talk about these things or have proper meetings. Well, not that I've seen, but if they actually talk to the people working and operating in town, I think, there are ways that could improve stuff. Pier recently, they've now sort of saying, due to health and safety, they've taken about 20 spaces away, which is ridiculous. That's a lot of, over the year, that's a lot of spaces, that's a lot of customers who can't come in as easy and can't park. And we need the local people to come in. With all these costs going up and then them preventing people from coming in so easy, it doesn't make it a viable option to, and that's why a lot of places I think have closed.
You've been listening to a Bailiwick Express podcast. If you like what you heard, please share, like and subscribe so we at Bailiwick can continue to pull apart the stories that affect you, the listener. Thank you for joining us.